Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, we have two feature stories for you. You'll travel to Iowa to Nichols Farms. It's the 5th largest beef seed stock operation in the nation.
In our Southern Gardening segment today, Gary Bachman asked to look closer to see the real beauty of flowers.
In the food factor, home canning, save some money and enjoy homegrown goodness. In our first feature story, we'll pay tribute to George Berry Sr. This master woodcarver had a national reputation, and Farm Week visited him 14 years ago.
If I don't do the things that he gave me to do and the things that he blessed me to do, then I'm going to eventually lose it.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Today we have an all-feature story edition of our program for you.
Leighton, our first story today is one from 14 years ago. We broadcasted in honor of master woodcarver George Berry Sr. of Richland. Unfortunately, Berry passed away this spring at the age of 76 after a long bout with cancer. Berry's skill earned him a nationwide reputation. He was a charter member of the Craftsman's Guild of Mississippi and served on its board of directors. Farm Week's Brian Utley did the guitar work on this story he first brought us in 2000.
Take a drive across Mississippi and you're likely to come across some of the animals and wildlife that are central to the state. Stop in at George Berry's workshop in Richland and you'll see some wooden replicas of these creatures that are almost lifelike. Berry learned the trade from his father at the early age of 7. Woodcarving was used as a way to relax and pass the time.
I used to watch my dad after working all day, stand at the end of the row after he was plowing or whatever, and he would stop to rest the horses and pick up a stick and start just cutting on it.
What began as a hobby has since turned into something much larger. Hard work has helped Berry make a name for himself as an artist and a teacher. Perhaps the most amazing thing about his career is that all his carvings are created with a pocket knife.
It came natural for me to work like that, to do this. It's a gift, and I've always pursued it and practiced it, and this is what it's turning into now.
Berry moved to Mississippi from Oklahoma in 1972 to be an industrial arts instructor at the Pineywood School. Life in Mississippi has been good as he has achieved numerous awards and recognition for his work. In 1984, he was chosen to demonstrate wood carving in the Mississippi exhibit at the World's Fair. He has been featured in magazines such as Southern Living and the book Craft in America by Phyllis George. He also had one of his pieces featured on the cover of the 1993 South Central Bell telephone book, and the list goes on. The thing that sets Berry apart from other woodcarvers is the fact that he doesn't use expensive machines for his work. He uses his hands. This is a distinction that he stresses.
I want him to know that I do it all by hand. I do it the old-fashioned way. That's done by the machine, that's there, and this is mine. And to me, the difference in doing that is, let me put it this way. If I go out here and dig a hole with a shovel, and you go out here and take a bulldozer, there's a lot of difference between that and this thing.
Wood carving is rarely taught in school classrooms, and Berry feels it is becoming a lost art. To share his love of carving with others, he often does demonstrations in schools, museums, and festivals. As a charter member of the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi, he also teaches year-round carving classes at the Chimneyville Crafts Gallery. Many of his students describe the experience as an escape.
Taking his class is just so relaxing. It's almost peaceful after a long day's work. You come in here and he's such an easy teacher and funny and easy to get along with that it's almost therapeutic.
I think people are starting to recognize that this is not just a woodcarver. There's lots of woodcarvers out there, but he's really a unique woodcarver. I mean, he has this ease about him that makes him look like he could do it with his eyes closed and still come out with a wonderful piece.
Establishing a connection with people is what Barry strives for in his work. He wants them to see how good carving is for the soul.
This makes me care about myself, and I'm hoping that this will rub off on other people, that no matter whether they are carving, drawing, or whatever it is, that they will feel good about it themselves, good enough to care about themselves.
George Barry says he realizes that God has given him a special talent, and he doesn't take it for granted.
If I don't do the things that he gave me to do and the things that he blessed me to do, then I'm going to eventually lose it. So I made the decision to do what he gave me to do, and I feel, and he blessed me since.
More and more of Barry's time is spent going out and studying the animals he carves, paying close attention to their fine lines and intricate details, all in the pursuit of that perfect wood carving. He still participates in many arts and craft festivals across the state, so if you get a chance, stop in. You might get to meet a true Southern craftsman and gentleman. From Richland, I'm Brian Utley reporting.
You can watch this story again on George Barry on our Farm Week website, Facebook page, or YouTube. The website address is farmweek.msucares.com. Try out our Facebook page. Give us a like if you wish. Facebook fans do see our stories first on Friday. Well, Leighton, as we said earlier, that story aired originally in 2000, hard to believe, 14 years ago. Barry passed away in late March of this year. Brian Utley still works in our department here, photographing Southern gardening and producing other projects. Last October, the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi named a gallery in Barry's honor at the Mississippi Craft Center in Ridgeland. Barry also received the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts in 2001. Fortunately, I accompanied Brian that day. I helped shoot that story.
That's
and so
right.
now that brings back so much more meaning to have been able to visit his workshop and to see how he does things, and to, of course, to hear him pass away. Even though we weren't friends, I still feel a connection.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit of I feel a loss there.
But the fact he could teach it, and as we heard in those testimonials, as well as actually be so skilled himself.
Well, there are a lot of Mississippians now who they have that connection. They have much more of a connection than I have with him because they took his classes, and he wanted to impart that there is a soulful nature to carving, and there's something that helps your soul, and that was what he wanted to do. If you want to visit the Mississippi Craft Center in Ridgeland, you'll be able to see some of Mr. Barry's art, but we extend our condolences to his family.
Well, time now for trivia on Farm Week. Our question today is about corn. How versatile is this crop, which was first grown in North America? Our question, which of these items does not use corn in its manufacture? Is the answer toothpaste, chewing gum, ink, or paper? I'll have the answer after today's Southern Gardening and Food Factor segments. Sometimes we let color distract us when we look at flowers. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman tells us to look a little closer.
Being a horticulturist means I really enjoy plants. Let's take a close look at some of the marvelous flowers found in our landscapes and gardens. In an earlier Southern Gardening segment, we enjoyed the delicate blue flowers of the aptly named blue butterfly plant. In this segment, I would like to share some other interesting flowers. One of the most unique flowers I know belongs to the Mississippi medallion winter yellow shrimp plant and the related red shrimp plant. The plant begins blooming by sending up colorful 4 to 5 inch spikes, which are very long lasting. Many think this is the flower, but in reality it is a modified flower called a bract. The flowers are the white tubular structures that emerge from the bract. Another plant having interesting flowers is Terenia, commonly called wishbone flower. The stamens, which contain the yellow pollen grains, form a structure that resembles a wishbone. Bees enter the flower in search of nectar and pick up and transfer the pollen. Perhaps the most interesting flowers belong to the container and basket plant favorite begonia. Begonia are monoecious plants, which have separate male and female flowers on the same plant. The 4-petal male flowers have numerous stamens containing the pollen. The 5-petal female flowers have 2 to 4 twisted structures called stigma, which receive the pollen grains. We all enjoy the flowering plants in our landscapes, but taking a closer look reveals an entirely different perspective on the beauty of flowers. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says most cameras have settings now which allow you to get close-up pictures of your flowers and enjoy them again this winter.
How would you like to increase the shelf life of your favorite fresh vegetables and save some money in the process? In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Extension Family and Consumer Science Specialist Natasha Haynes with Mississippi State University tells us how you can do just that.
With the rising cost of groceries, many people are returning to home canning or joining the movement for the first time. One of the most common mistakes is choosing the wrong canning method. Today, I'd like to tell you how to can safely. The 2 primary methods for home canning are a boiling water bath and a pressure canner. Deciding on which method depends on the acidity of the food you're canning. The wrong choice can lead to the growth of the botulism bacteria, a deadly form of food poisoning. A boiling water canner is needed for canning highly acidic foods like tomatoes, salsa, fruits, pickles, jellies, and jams. These canners are made of aluminum or porcelain covered steel. They have removable racks and fitted lids. The canner should be deep enough to allow at least 1 to 2 inches of water to boil over the top of the jars. A pressure canner is essential for canning low acid foods such as meats, fish, poultry, and all vegetables except for tomatoes. A canner with a dial gauge must be tested for accuracy before each canning season or after dropping or banging it on the floor. Contact your county extension office for information on having your dial gauge tested. Be sure to have reliable, up-to-date canning instructions. Publications are available at your county extension office, or simply go to MSU-cares.com and search for canning instructions. Be sure to look at the instructions for what you want to can well before you are ready to prepare the food. You may need time to purchase ingredients and equipment needed for the recipe. Planning ahead will make for a successful canning season. You'll save time, money, and frustration. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
Now, once again, great information on canning is available from your county office of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
It's time for the answer to our trivia quiz on Farm Week. It's about what items use corn when they're manufactured. Today's trivia quiz, however, has a trick answer because the answer is corn is included in the manufacture of all of these: toothpaste, chewing gum, ink, and paper. This according to the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture.
We're going to pause for a break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. Nichols Farms of Iowa. It's one of America's premier seed stock operation, and it's earned its reputation the old-fashioned way: hard work.
Hi, I'm Leighton Spann, host of Farm Week. You're invited to take part in a viewer survey about Farm Week. We want to know what's good and what's bad. Go to our website, farmweek.msucares.com, look in the upper right corner, and it will direct you to our online survey. There's also a telephone survey where you can tell your thoughts to an actual person. You'll find a link to it on our website as well. You can also find these links on our Farm Week USA Facebook page.
Before we get back to the last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The annual Agronomy Field Day will take place at Mississippi State University's North Mississippi Research and Extension Center. That's on Highway 145 at Verona. The date is Thursday, August 7th. Growers should meet at the conference building at the nearby Lee County Agri Center. Field tours will leave from there. The hours are 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Lunch will be served. There's no registration fee. Interested in growing for a farmer's market? Well, then you should participate in the Mississippi Microfarming Short Course. It takes place Wednesday and Thursday, August 27th and 28th. The location is the Eagle Ridge Conference Center in Raymond. The short course is free, but advanced registration is required. What vegetables and fruits to grow for farmers markets and selling at farmers markets are just a few of the items on the agenda. We'll have a link on our calendar to help you register. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
America's farmers and ranchers are enjoying record or near record prices for their cattle, due largely to a drought-reduced herd. Rebuilding the herd will take time, money, and favorable genetics. Nichols Farms of Iowa is the 5th largest seed stock operation in the nation. It's a long-time family operation, but it continues to embrace innovative technologies to produce better beef more efficiently. Market to Market's Laurel Bauer-Bergmeyer reports.
I can't remember a time when we weren't in the cattle business. My mom and dad were married and were tenant farmers in Nebraska, and they made a down payment on a farm in Adair County, Iowa when I was moved to Adair County when I was about a year and a half old, and I always remember Dad was a cattle feeder.
20 years ago, Market to Market introduced viewers to Nichols Farms in west central Iowa. A lot has changed over the past 2 decades, but one thing hasn't. Dave Nichols of Bridgewater, Iowa still has the wisdom of a cattle feeder and the spirit of an entrepreneur.
I think if you were to characterize Dave Nichols and Nichols Farms, as my dad once told me, he says, Dave, no more people see if you're a mile ahead of the parade than if you're a mile behind it. And I said, Dad, that's true. But I'm a mile ahead. I get to see the drum majorettes and the band and the flag. If you're a mile behind, you get to see a bunch of old guys picking up horse manure from the local saddle club.
Nichols Farms is known internationally for its innovative techniques in using genetic and production data from cattle to produce beef more efficiently.
It's a seed stock operation that our core business is a seed stock, and so we raise and sell lots of bulls. And we're currently the 5th largest seed stock operation in the country that's grown from very modest beginnings. And my dad's motto, I remember my dad has grown wiser every year as I've gotten older, and his motto was raise all you can, feed all you raise.
What was once a 240-acre farm has now grown into a 5,300-acre family seed stock operation. Nichols attributes his success to rigorous production standards, a willingness to embrace innovations, and aggressive marketing.
We're really unique in the large seed stock operations because all of our capital has been earned from within. We don't own Ford dealerships or anything like that. We've had to generate all our capital from within.
All Nichols bulls have complete performance records, expected progeny differences, or EPDs, ultrasound data, and DNA profiles.
When I scan, what that does is pull that individual bull up in our database. He's already pre-entered in there from weaning time by the EID, but it gives us his visual number, his whole pedigree, his birth date, all the different data that we keep about 85 different fields of individual data on each individual animal.
Today, nearly 85% of all U.S. Simmental genetics are traced to Nichols bulls. And all bulls in the top 1% of the All-Purpose Index, or API, contain Nichols genetics. Dave credits that track record to a commitment to keep the commercial producer and cattle feeder as a top priority.
We're known as our bulls are raised under the same environments that their cattle are. We don't show cattle, we don't fit cattle, we don't clip heads, we don't trim feet. We expect our cattle to work just as hard as we and our employees do. And so our cattle are known as these cattle. They're also known as cattle that have a lot of performance and grow.
In 2013, Nichols Farms sold over 400 bulls and is on track to do the same this year, including farmer Nick Price of Earlham, Iowa.
What brings me to Nichols now, I believe, is I was looking for consistency in genetics and like a solid cow herd that provides those genetics along with the sires that they put on the cows.
Nichols Farms procedures include artificial insemination of approximately 80% of purebred cows and heifers one time with seed stock from high-accuracy sires. The remaining wet 2-year-olds are bred naturally. To shorten generation interval and make maximum progress, Nichols Farms cleans up with a large number of yearling sires, except for the 2-year-olds, which are bred with a combination of proven and yearling bulls. Nichols sires are determined by an in-house index emphasizing carcass merit per day of age. As for females, all open heifers and cows are culled after a 63-day breeding season. Dry cows never go to pasture, and all females that lose a calf for any reason are culled from the herd. Other culling criteria include soundness of feet, legs, and udders, as well as disposition and performance. Nichols Farms computerized its system as soon as the technology became available. Today, its database contains more than 70 fields of data on each animal. To meet its production protocols, Nichols Farms embraces virtually every technology available, including ultrasound and genomics, and the operation has participated in over 20 research projects with land-grant universities.
He's a leader in adapting new things, and the techniques and the technology that I see them do are really creative and on the cutting edge and the forefront. And I think we're lucky to have such an innovator in Iowa representing the beef industry and see how he impacts the industry throughout the nation.
With a cattle feeder's perspective and a commitment to better beef that benefits not just Nichols Farms but the whole industry, Dave has had a deep-seated conviction to scientifically identify superior carcass genetics.
And I think what Nichols Farms offers to the consumer is a higher quality beef, a leaner product, but still with the marbling that we want for taste. And they also offer consistency, so that when I go to the grocery store or I go to the restaurant and I order a steak, I get a great tasting steak every time I order it. So you add that consistency. And I think that's what Nichols Farm is all about.
Nichols Farms genetics extend well beyond the United States. They've exported live cattle, embryos, and semen to 30 countries. And after 50 years in the cattle business, Dave has no intention of slowing down.
The reason we expand is part of my DNA, and I can't help it. Part of the reason, though, the main reason is if you really want to make improvement when you're improving cattle or hogs or anything, it requires numbers. And if in our case here, just in our Iowa division here, we have 600 bulls born each year, and we're going to pick out the 10 of them that's best. If we had 100 cows, we wouldn't have that many to pick out of. And so if you want your son to be a Rhodes Scholar that makes it into the NFL, you probably better find out a way to have 1,000 kids.
You can watch this story on Nichols Farms at the Farmweek website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farm Week Stories on YouTube and Facebook, and we will have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well as read the script. Again, farmweek.msucares.com.
Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. Well, it's no secret that the average age of the nation's farmers is creeping upward.
On our next show here on Farm Week, we'll see a profile on a program in Iowa to save that state's barns and to record the oral histories of Iowa farmers.
We didn't have
In Southern gardening, shady gardens. A shade garden is a great place to cool off when the southern sun is at its hottest. And if you'd like further information on Farm Week Story or you'd like to write us, here's what you do. Our address, Snail Mail, Farm Week, Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. That's Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Our telephone number is 662-325-2262. You can also contact us through your Mississippi State University Extension Service County office. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.